Hello, Facebook friends. Helen Arcantu here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm so happy to have some time with you on this summer day. It is finally in North Jersey a sunny day from the start. We've had a little bit of gloom and a lot of flooding. A lot of people have really been hit hard, so we're thinking of those who have been. But we're grateful for the vitamin D today, and we know that somehow when the sun comes out, we all feel a little bit better, thanks to that bright sunshininess. But that's one of the great things about summer is that it's such a wonderful time to get a little bit more active and to be thinking a little bit differently about how we're living our life. Hopefully, thinking about that activity and creating a little bit more health, conscious decision making, so that we can have more energy to enjoy the nice weather. Today's guest is really someone that created a whole business focusing on that, and we're so happy that she could be here today to help us think about some goals that we may want to set to move ourselves towards more of an ideal for our vision of health. And so with that, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, Myladys.
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 Yeah.
I know.
Myladys like Pilates.
You know what I was doing in my head. You know what I was doing in my head. Myladys Traina, who holds a master's degree in business administration. Now I have Traina on my notes here, but it's Traina. Is that
Traina.
right?
Yeah.
Traina.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me start over. We have got a flipped some letters here, but it's Myladys Traina, who holds a master's degree in business administration, and she pursued an undergraduate degree in public health and in business administration. She is a certified integrative nutritionist with over 10 years of experience working in an outpatient setting. She obtained her certificate through Apollo Health as a Recode 2.0 health coach, where she was trained by Dr. Dale Brednison on how to reverse and prevent cognitive decline. She has developed and managed several top wellness programs to help individuals find their best approach to health and nutrition. And she also has a keen insight on the problem of the current state of nutrition, food trends, and fad diets. And geez, I feel like in the last 3 weeks alone on my social media feed, I've been bombarded between mushroom coffee and to try to give you a flat stomach, and a certain drink that's supposed to make my skin look better from collagen. So I'm curious to hear more about all these like fads, and there's so much out there coming at us. It's hard to figure out what's real and what's not just a commercial from a business. So it's wonderful to have this conversation today to help us. And also, one of the great things I know that you focus on is cooking simple, and making it fun for your clients to empower them to be their own advocates for their health. So welcome. We're so happy to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love that you're already kind of mentioning a couple things that you are working on. And you also mentioned that it's hard to decipher on what's the truth, what is it that they're just trying to sell you on. And that's actually is something that got me started into wellness and my nutrition journey, trying to decipher what's the truth.
It's very hard. I mean, there really is so much coming at us. And the reality of it is we're eager to feel better, and I think, we're, as human beings, we're also eager for the quick fix, right? So if it's something that we can drink and, look, the person on the ad stomach went down in 2 weeks from drinking this mushroom coffee, supposedly, right? So it feels like a good quick fix. Let me buy it and try it. But there's also side effects to a lot of these things that, are out there. And some of them really are not real, but it's hard for us to decipher, which is why it's so great to have professionals like you out there coaching us. So let's start with, what put you on this path as being the focus of your career. I know that, it's really an area that has had a lot of growth, like over the last decade of folks, really focusing on this area. What pulled you into this space?
Yeah, just from my background, I was really, when I started in healthcare, my goal was really to just focus on operations and the business side and not actually seeing myself as a health provider, as a nutritionist. But through my journey and working with what I started off working with cancer patients. I just remember just having a lot of questions as to why is the cancer rate getting so high? What's going on? What's the cause? And at the time it was just like, I don't know what could kind of increase your risk of cancer. I had so many questions. But shortly after then, that's when I got into managing top wellness programs, where the focus was on the opposite spectrum of end of life and cancer. It's prevention, right? And focusing on wellness. So it really started from that, just my own journey. A lot of times people I find that are in this holistic space, they personally have had something happen to them or a loved one. And because of their own personal experience, they had to research and become their own advocate, is how they actually, got introduced to this world. So I'm no different than that. It happened to me. I had really high cholesterol. And the doctor was telling me, focus on your diet, but they didn't really have an answer to, okay, what kind of diet? They couldn't really precise and pinpoint what in my diet could be causing the high cholesterol. At least from what I looked into, when I looked into what they did tell me, there were just so much conflicting information. So it was about getting my cholesterol down. And what I realized is that you could have two individuals who have master degrees in nutrition, right? A dietitian, and one will tell you canola oil is great, corn oil is great, fats are great. It doesn't matter what type of oils, this actually helps lower your cholesterol. I have met dietitians who actually tell patients this, even diabetes patients. But then I've also met dietitians who are like, no, this is the last thing I would offer to patients. You want to stay away from these high inflammatory oils. When you look at an oil, you have to look at the omega-3 and the omega-6 ratio, and you want it to be higher in omega-3, like extra virgin olive oil is higher in omega-3. So fats are good for us. It's about the high quality fats. But I discovered this because I actually saw a functional medicine doctor. So a functional medicine doctor, for those who don't know, is someone who is a board certified licensed doctor, but who has also gone back to school to actually find the root causes of diseases. And unfortunately, they have to do extra training because when you're going to medical school as a physician, you have to start from the top. Who's funding the medical schools, right? Is it at their advantage to really find the root cause to diseases and actually heal a patient, right? When you're healing a patient, they're not coming back to your office. They're not going to call you with the problem. So you have to look at the funding. It's coming from pharmaceutical companies. So if I own a pharmaceutical company and I am actually have sponsored medical schools, I'm going to teach my doctors to heal patients or treat patients using my products. And I think we do a great job with acute stuff. I think we do a great job with surgery and when we need help. I'm not saying don't go to doctors. Like, they're there for a reason because they're amazing. They're rock stars. But I think when it comes to prevention and trying to stay healthy, you need a team, a different team to stay healthy. And then that's really what started my journey. In a matter of 3 months, I was able to lower my cholesterol drastically just with changing diet. My doctor was like, just like floored. He's like, what did you do? Probably wanted to talk for 2 hours of like all the dots I connected, but that's what got me here. That's what got me really passionate to helping people. So it's not just about helping people lower their cholesterol, but any type of diet goals they're looking for. If they're trying to lose weight, during the pandemic, I gained 25 pounds. And then I lost it around the same time that I lowered my cholesterol. So, I focus on that, but I also focused one of my niche markets is focusing on cognitive decline, which has become one of my passions, because that's something that we've been told there is no cure. There's absolutely nothing you could do. There's only medication to alleviate the symptoms. And unfortunately, that's not true for everybody. There are a large amount of individuals who are able to prevent cognitive decline and actually reverse, believe it or not, reverse or at least slow the decline. As much as 80% of individuals who are diagnosed early on. And it takes a team. It's not just me doing it on my own, but it's what's got me here, just from my own journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. You said there's so much that you just shared. I want to pull out for our viewers. I mean, one of the things you shared is really a theme for us at the YW, which is that, we see it over and over and over again that women get called to be, to use their voice, they have to become advocates for either themselves or a family member. And, very often it propels them on a journey that they didn't expect, for themselves, and really changes the trajectory of their career path, of their health, of their life. And you're another great example of that. And so I really thank you for sharing that part of it. And I'm listening to you talk about really that we do have the ability with choices we make, in terms of how we eat and our activity, that really can impact our lives in every way. It impacts the health tests. It impacts the you know how you live, how long you live, how active you can be. So it really is very empowering, to remember that, being in a space with someone like you, making sure that you're staying on top of, really scientific information, and not kind of the fad information that comes around, really can change the course of your life. The fact that you were able to lower your cholesterol, forget that you did it in 3 months, but the fact that you were able to do that, and, that changes your, the trajectory for your life as well. So there's so much in there. So you mentioned at the end there about cognitive decline, and which I think is so interesting that you shared, because I do think that that's something that we're just starting to hear more about in the news. I mean, when there's celebrities like Bruce Willis, that suddenly, everyone thinks of him as, obviously because of the Die Hard movies, as being this, like, active, vibrant. He was funny, all of this, and then, like, what seemed like suddenly, of course, you hear the story of him, being impacted. And I know that that has put a lot of spotlight, also, on the fact that there are choices that you can make to have, like, a healthier cognitive life, early on. Can you talk a little bit about that? I just think that's so interesting that you raised it, because it is a narrative that we're starting to hear a little bit more about, but we have not really, we've heard about decisions you can make about cancer. We've heard about, your heart decisions, but the cognitive decline piece is really new.
Yeah, I think because it's so new that I was just so curious about what the answer is to what could lower your risk of starting to have cognitive decline. I was very interested, and I was introduced to that through Dr. Dale Bredesen. So one of the doctors that I follow and have followed closely for years now is Dr. Mark Hyman,
Yes.
who's a world-renowned functional medicine doctor. And I have been obsessed with him ever since I started my journey. And any other provider he mentions, and someone who he had on his podcast was Dr. Dale Bredesen, who started talking about how Alzheimer's is now a choice. And then he's like, yes, you heard me right. And I remember they were talking at a conference. After a conference, they were talking about how Dr. Hyman had a patient who had Alzheimer's, and simply by changing their diet, and I'm not saying this is the case for everybody. Everyone's situation's different and may require many different modalities and different experts. but diet is definitely crucial. And just from changing the patient's diet, he sent the patient back to their neurologist, had a scan. Um, the neurologist looked at their brain and was like, wow, you like the actual scans are showing that it's reversing. You actually are reversing the cognitive decline. So we actually see hard data. And that's really when he started his journey. And then started to speak with other physicians, other neurologists like Dr. Dale Bredson, who got on board, started to learn more about nutrition. I'm not a fan of folks, coming on mainstream media and saying, "Hey, I'm predisposed to this." Like, for example, Chris Hemsworth, he's someone who came on saying, "I have a gene, and this predisposes me to having cognitive decline, worry, fear." Well, if we really look at what's out there, you would find out what I found out, that, you can take steps. So maybe while you're introducing that you do have genes, well, it's really important to know that genes do load the gun. Absolutely. But your lifestyle pulls the trigger. And I think educating people to let them know the steps that they could take that could put them and at least decrease their risk of cognitive decline is huge. And I just want to point out one thing, just to mention there are many other things that could put you at higher risk of cognitive decline, but I'm going to point out one. One is heavy metals in your body. So heavy metals do accumulate and bioaccumulate in your body, specifically the brain. One of the ways, I'll just give one example, because there are many ways that you could actually have accumulated levels of heavy metals, is you no longer have and see silver amalgams being put on cavities, because we now know that's a problem. At least dentists shouldn't be putting them on individuals. The FDA finally recognized that it was a problem. And when they did recognize it was a problem, they said, well, this is what we'll say: pregnant women and children shouldn't have silver amalgams. Well, you know that because it's actually poison for our body. And it shouldn't just be pregnant women and children. They're most susceptible to having symptoms. It should be everyone, because if you're identifying something that is toxic for us, everybody should avoid it.
That's fascinating and such important information. And again, I understand your, disclaimer, but in terms of that, this isn't for everyone, isn't going to stop everything, but that it is empowering. I mean, it does show that we do have the ability to impact our health differently from the choices that we make. I actually have followed the work of Dr. Hyman myself for many years now. So I'm a huge proponent of, just being open and also feeling empowered from the choices that you can make, for sure. For our viewers, I just want to make sure you're noting, we're putting in the comments here for you the link to wellnesslens.org, so that you can stay connected and learn more about Myladys' work. So Myladys, I have a question for you. What is the best way for, those of us listening to you that are, we know that we need to make a change in our life. We're not feeling the way we want to feel, although we can't pinpoint specifically, what it is. What's the best way to get like a first step in, to move forward into like a healthier direction? I mean, how is it that you work with your clients to engage them and move them into, empowering them?
So I like to take it slow. I try to first get to know the individual. So with anyone who wants to schedule sessions with me and work with me, depending on whatever goal that you have in mind, I like to schedule a first consult. The first consult is free. I don't really think you should charge for the first consultation, because you're collecting information, right? And working with any health provider, not just me, you want to make sure we click together. You want to make sure I'm a right fit for you, and I want to also feel that, vice versa. So it's about collecting information first, seeing if I believe that, we're a right fit and I can help you. But then it's also making sure that you're committed to at least start. Starting is the hardest thing. And being committed and just saying, that's it. I'm done with feeling like I have low energy. I get home, I barely want to do anything. I have brain fog, whatever it is. So I think the first step is starting and then just taking it slow. That's how I got here. I started to make little changes, like maybe your staple products, maybe you can't help but to have so much sugar in your diet, right? Maybe it's the cream and the sugar in the coffee every day, and that's how you start off your day. So maybe focus on that. So I really try to focus on the big ticket items that I think are really slowing people down on achieving their goals, and take it step by step. It may take 6 months, it may take a year, but the important thing is every week you are seeing progress.
And also I think the way that you're describing it also makes me feel like there's more potential for you to like really commit that change into permanent practice, because anyone can do anything for a quick fix, but does it last? I mean, there are so many fad diets out there, right, that people like drop 25-30 pounds, but then a month after they're off of it, they've gained twice that back.
Right, absolutely. And I think it's a combination of why does that happen? One, it's not a quick fix, it's a lifestyle change. Yes, if you try the fad diet, it will work, but you're not actually getting to the root of how you can maintain it. So that's why you end up going back. But I also feel that there is a huge mental component too. So that's why I haven't just focused on nutrition, it's integrative nutrition. So I look at, everything in our lives. And a lot of times we use food to cope with pain, to cope with problems, right? You even see it on movies and shows. I had a hard day, someone broke up with me, I'm going to have ice cream and wine, right? We're associating that I'm having a hard time in my life, I'm going through something, so I'm going to numb that pain with food or alcohol. So food does become an addiction. So if you're trying a fad diet and I want to lose 15 pounds, okay, it's going to work, but are you getting to the root of the source on why you haven't been able to maintain? So I think mental health is huge. I even encourage my patients to see a therapist. That was huge for my healing journey. And I'm very, very open to my clients about that.
Well, that's wonderful, because I do feel like it takes a village, as they say. So, the more resources and support you can have around you to make a real lifestyle change permanent, for sure should be embraced. Um, so I do have a question. I mean, you mentioned, which I'm so glad that you did, about cognitive health, because again, I do think we're reading more and more about that. But what about gut health? I mean, you see gut health, I feel like, is in every fad ad out there. Um, what's that all about? And
Yeah,
I know a little
absolutely.
bit about it because I do follow some of the folks, but I'm curious to hear what you have to share with us on that.
Yeah, so absolutely. With cognitive decline and anything that has to do with the brain, there is this gut brain axis, meaning they're connected. What you put into your mouth does affect your brain. And I actually wanted to point out a study, and I'm going to point out a study that was done over 20 years ago, because I also want to point out that we have known that what we eat does impact the brain. So not just cognitive decline, but even behavioral problems, even violence. So talk about, crimes being committed and, racism or injustices, like looking into areas where we live, and actually looking at what we're consuming depending on our environment. So the study that I wanted to reference was a study where they looked at 230 male prisoners in 2002. And they looked at 230 males, and they actually changed their diet. Specifically, it was supplementing with omega-3, so essential fatty acids. And they also looked at nutritional deficiencies. So they also implemented zinc and magnesium, and the results were like mind blowing. So the results after a few months, they actually violent incidents dropped by 37%. That's only with implementing omega-3 supplement, zinc and magnesium.
That's amazing. And, it does speak so much to, the challenge of accessing um, vegetables and fruits, accessing supplements. I mean, so many of these, it's expensive to at times, right? I mean, we feel like that becomes one of the barriers, that it's expensive to live healthy, and eat healthy. It definitely is different. And even with a lot of these food programs like WIC and so forth, it's hard because you get more for your money to buy junk, than to buy, healthy foods. So there is such a link there for sure.
Yeah,
That
absolutely. And it's about prioritizing what's important. But I mean, I definitely think we need to find a way to make it a lot more affordable. Absolutely.
we do, and it's such an important piece from an advocacy perspective. For those of us that are always thinking about where and how we can make a difference. I mean, making sure that um, these programs are allowing for folks to be able to access, you know, food that's healthy, and for all of us to be making choices, as well. I mean, it has such a tremendous impact. Wow, we covered so much, and as always happens, the time goes quickly, and there's so much more to say. So before we leave each other, any last thoughts you want to share with our viewers about, wellness and health decisions? As we kind of are heading further into summer, anything that they can be thinking about to make a lasting and meaningful impact in their overall health?
Yeah, I think it's about trying to see what's going to move the needle with at least moving you the right direction. And even just focusing on one or two things at a time, even just one thing at a time, you can move mountains by doing that, because once you've gotten that one thing down, maybe it's drinking enough water daily, then you could move on to the next thing. But I think what's so amazing, seeing what makes me so happy to see, is that um, when you focus and you truly focus on yourself, not only your mental health, let's say, going to therapy and processing things better, being able to deal with situations in a better way. Well, once you encompass and have that information, you will then be able to help out friends and family members by your daily interactions. So you are making a change there, because people will come to you for advice. If you seem more level headed, people are going to come to you for advice. So you are inadvertently making a ripple effect. So if it's not just mental health, if you're also, looking at your diet, it's what you cook. If you're cooking for your husband, your children, you're educating them, but also family members when they come over, friends. And it does actually start to rub off on people, that your sphere of influence. So you actually are changing the world. It becomes a ripple effect, and it's amazing to see. I've seen it with so many individuals in my life. I'm not pressuring them. I'm not shoving anything down their throat. I'm just simply being me, and focusing on the best version of myself every day. And then it kind of just starts to rub off on other people.
I love that. What a great place to wrap up today is, making a change for yourself also makes that change for others. And what's more empowering than that? Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us, and your mindset, and your own personal story and how you made the shift. It's such an inspiration for our viewers. Please share this broadcast with someone in your life that you think would be inspired by this conversation. Share something you learned, and definitely be following wellnesslens.org. Check out The Instagram page, which we have up on the screen now for you also. So there's more to learn. And we have more YWTV to come this week. So we look forward to spending some more time with you there as well. Bye,
Thank you for
everyone.
having me.
Thank
Bye.
you for being with us. Have a great day,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
You too. Bye.